Hello and a good evening to you. A warm welcome back to the competitive speed series. My name is Frostbreath and I'll once again be your commentator for tonight. We have arrived at round number 6 already. Time really flies when you're having fun, isn't it? The calendar right here, as you can see, the halfway point after this race finishes will have been reached. Today, March 15th, will mark that halfway point, to be precise. It's been a good run so far, and the standings will definitely show you that. Here they are, WR still having a very healthy lead with 44 points over NLR Esports team. Doing quite well out there, WR, after winning last week in Silverstone as well, with Janesh Dovjan finally picking up his first win of the season. Let's see if they can build on that lead tonight with their two drivers this time round. TTM follows suit in third place with ABS just behind them. CPI in P5, then Team Shizou in sixth place. The Playing Ducks, you'll find them in seventh. ATX are back this week after having served a double race ban in Silverstone, so they will try to get back on the board with points tonight. And then, of course, the latest addition, Precision Racing, having scored their first 2 points last race with a P15 alongside the fastest lap. You'll also notice the 10th team, Novus Racing, missing. They have pulled out, unfortunately, out of this competition. Now they were supposed to be replaced by ART. Unfortunately, they are not able to drive tonight. So that means 18 drivers on the grid as we speak. And we are on our way already, because the lobby is full and all of them have been in time, I'd say. So that is great news. That means nobody will have to serve a qualifying ban, which is excellent, and that means all of them will be trying to set a fast lap here in Spa-Francorchamps. Speaking of the track, let's have a little look at the track itself. Always nice to look at, a very pretty track with 22 laps coming up, since it's a 50% race. The longest track, of course, on the calendar, as we all know, and a short qualifying beforehand. Also, the biggest difference in elevation, especially going up from the back straight. So that always is going to provide us some good overtaking opportunities. One of the prettiest tracks, I'd say, if not the prettiest of the lot. So then, lobby readying up as we speak, and soon we will be officially on our way for the 6th round already. Things are really, really going fast. Righto, on our way at the moment, 18 minutes of qualifying coming up. Let's see how these drivers will stand up to this track in particular. It's again a different beast from Silverstone, plenty of very long straights. 2 DRS zones, of course, on the start-finish straight, and then on the long one after, the Radion and Eau Rouge corners on the Camel Straight, we should say there. And of course, there's a bit of a tricky bit going down at Bruxelles, or the Brussels corner, we should say. Bruxelles is the French way of writing it. It's not the correct way of pronouncing it, I can tell you already. Then, of course, Pujon, which is a very nasty left-hander. Get too much on the inside curbs and you might lose control of your car. And some places you can easily invalidate your laps are, for example, in turn 16. So, looks like we're up for an interesting qualifying session. We are at the track at the moment. There they are. So let's see who's going to come out first. Of course, let's enable all the fancy statistics. As you can see, 18 drivers in. The AlphaTauri seats have yet to be filled after Novus Racing has left. The Haas seats are filled once again this week, thanks to them having served their double race ban. They find themselves in the P9 at the moment, but it looks like they've brought in 2 very quick drivers with Istvan Tamashi and Leo Lund. LLR with the same lineup as last week, with Victor Whitler and Zach Miles. WR back with Janesh Devjan, alongside a new name for this season in WR with Guti Balint, as the first 2 drivers are exiting their pit lanes already. Leo Lund, Zach Miles on their way already towards the Camel Straight. For PR we have, I believe, 2 new names as well, with Paulo Afonso. Should be careful not to say Alfonso. Paulo Afonso and Nazir Kesrani. I hope I pronounced that one correctly. For Shizou we have 2 new names too, with Matt Guest and McKay Lutinsky. For PD, once again, Lucas Beisner and a new name with Patrick Backmeyer. Then for TTM, of course, Luke Mills And once again, Aiden Hurg, we've seen him last week as well. Pretty quick driver too for them. So that should be promising for the TTM team, who are closing in on second place in the the team standings. Then for CPI, we have Candy King alongside Vuk Gaika. And I believe that only has me remaining to introduce to you ABS with Keanu, also known for the WR Tier 3 tier, and Exofox. So, the qualifying is underway. It's looking pretty cloudy, which might be a nasty prediction for the race. We of course had a full wet race, all race long, in Canada 2 races ago. That was a good one from a commentator's perspective. Not so great from a racer's perspective, I'm sure. Following Istvan Tamashi at the moment, Leoland's teammate for the night. Leoland, the first man who will be starting a hot lap. He does have a wrong prefix for me. Unfortunately, I couldn't fix it even with restarting the game. So FYI, his prefix has been corrected. Unfortunately, not for me. And that's kind of annoying. Anyway, I'm sure I won't mix them up again for another team this time round, like I did in Monaco. It's getting quite busy right now on the back straight, as they all went through Blanchimont, and of course the bus stop chicane coming up right here with the Leo Lund. Oh, never mind, it's not Leo Lund going first. It's, I believe, Zach Miles, who decided to just go ahead of Leo just before the chicane happens, and then just completely misjudged his braking point there, went way too wide. So not an ideal start to his lap, and Leo will not be very pleased with that one. But it's not illegal, although Leo will have something to say about that one for sure. Zach Miles then, the first driver to start the hot lap here tonight. Let's see what he can do on Belgium. A 1 minute 41 surely should be possible, maybe even go to a 1 minute 40. I'm not entirely familiar with the quick lap times here in Spa-Francorchamps. Everybody is out at the moment. As you can see, it's already quite busy in the chicane. Zach Miles at a 30.0 through the first sector. Let's see what his teammate Victor Whitler does. A 30.0 precisely 45 milliseconds quicker than Zach Miles was right there. It's a very tiny margin indeed, especially on this track. That's interesting to know, by the way. Jack, he went wide for better straight line speed on that little straight as he crossed the line. That's a good thing to know, actually. That will explain a lot of moments where the drivers will go wide, just to get that extra bit of straight line speed. Of course, the hot laps won't have started after that chicane anyway. It will only start when they cross the start-finish line, which is the point where they will have more speed, thanks to that maneuver, so to say. Yep, thank you, Jack, for well, actually quite interesting to know. I haven't seen that tactic before. So Zach Miles goes through Blanchimont, past the DRS detection zone, which of course is not yet in effect during qualifying. And now let's see what Zach Miles will be doing as he comes across the line. The first to post a lap time tonight, a 40.5. So already my predictions are way off, as Leo Lund slots in the second lap time of the night with a 40.7. Victor in a second place for now, 40.6. More drivers dropping in their lap times as we speak, with Candy King next across the line. Goes to P5 with a 41.0. Guti Berlin sitting last at the moment, a 41.1. Just ahead of him now slots in Patrick Dagmeyer. Many more are coming in there across the line. Lucas Beisner with a 40.7 and many others following. So let's see how Janesh is doing at the moment. He's just the next driver to cross the line there, while the Shizou drivers cross before him, and there he goes, just marginally quicker than Janesh Davjan with a 40.547. Only about 3/100ths of a second separating the both the front row drivers as we speak. So let's see, the last driver who will be crossing the line is Aiden Hurd, but unfortunately for him, he has invalidated his lap. But it does seem he's still pushing quite hard. His his ERS is still being drained. Switching quickly then to one of the PR drivers, also has invalidated his lap. That should have been a 41.140, which would have granted him P10. Just 1 millisecond quicker than Patrick Dagmeyer. Unfortunately, this lap will not count to that tally, nor will Aiden's. That means 6 drivers after this first attempt are without a lap time, and that includes both ABS drivers, so they are off to a pretty rough start already. If you remember from last week, they were fighting for the win with Nico Viani and even their other driver. Unfortunately, my memory is a bit hazy on all the drivers who were racing last week, so forgive me on that one. But I can tell you for sure that both, actually I believe it was Marco Di Buono, yes it was. They were both fighting for a victory potentially. At least they were driving all within the top 6, which were all very close together. It was an epic race. If you haven't seen it yet, make sure to watch it back when you can. Of course, not right now, because you don't want to miss out on this qualifying right here. As 12 out of the 18 drivers have set a lap time at the moment. Many heading back into pit lane. Let's have a little look at Vugaika, currently setting 6th fastest overall with a 40.833. Just over 2 tenths quicker than the man in 7th. That is Luke Mills, also once again the lobby host of tonight. It's always nice to mention that one. Also shouldn't forget to mention our sponsors, Gridfinder Simulus and Sim Racing Center, of course. Always a big thank you to them for keeping these streams flowing as they are at the moment. And as usual, the PC tier has the honor of kicking off this weekend on Spa-Francorchamps, with the PlayStation tier coming up Sunday, and then Xbox rounding it off on the Mondays. Make sure to tune in for those as well. So, the first driver to get back out on track for the second attempt is actually Nazir Kesrani, who didn't set a lap time on the first attempt. I'm not sure if he hasn't validated it or not. Probably has, otherwise he would have set a lap time already. A new name for PR, and PR would like to get underway with their points properly. They've only scored 2 points by one driver in the last race. And the first race of this series for them, which was in Canada, they had a double DNF, which is a pretty false start if you're a new team. Of course, hopefully next week we'll be joined once again by a 10th team in this championship. And if they bring some quick drivers, who knows, they could still fight for the title. But we'll have to find that out later on. Just having a little look from the onboard view, it's looking pretty cloudy. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see any rain, although, once again, as a commentator, I cannot see what the weather is going to do. And that means I'm left guessing, unless there's somebody's race engineer watching in the chat as well. And if they could get me some insider information on the weather in qualifying, and especially the race, that would be much appreciated. Also much appreciated your comment, Jack. Thank you very much. It's always nice to see people appreciate the work you do. Anyway, it looks like Nazir Kesrani is way ahead of the others, which might potentially cause some traffic for him, especially since many of them have just left the Camel Straight. Might be a challenge and a half for him. It's really busy out there, and only Aiden Hurd is now leaving, or sorry, exiting, pretty much the same word. Exiting the pit lane as we speak, with Nazir Kesrani on his way right now. Let's follow this new name on board as he just went through Les Sources, the first corner of this 20-corner track, the longest with just over 7 kilometers. And look up here, it's already going quite uphill already. Could be quite difficult to control the car there, especially when the track is wet. And there we go then, on the Camel Straight. Hello Tez, welcome to the stream. Good to see you there. There we go, one of the TTM cars moving out of the way. Nice and easy does it, going through Lecombe. And then let's see what he can do from there on out. Then, one of the trickiest corners to get right. In the previous 2 games, you would lock up here constantly if you just barely missed out on your braking point. Nicely within the lines over here as he now approaches Puhan, turn 12 to the left, missing the curbs, which is a good thing in this corner, especially if the curbs just go a bit up, and that might you lose control of your car, which is not something you want to happen. Then going to the next 2 corners, the campus corners, actually names that aren't mentioned very often. Then one of the parts where you can invalidate your lap, and he does. Oh dearie me, we've completely jinxed him into invalidating a second attempt. And that is bad news for Nazir Kesrani as he tries to get a lap time on the board for the PR team. Neither of them have successfully done so yet. And that means he's gonna have to try again. Looks like his car number 13 doesn't really help him at the moment, unfortunately. So let's see. Of course, he's going straight back in the pit lane. That's 2 sets of soft tires wasted for pretty much nothing. And he doesn't like to see that, of course. We're following Victor Whitler at the moment. 3rd at the moment on the grid. just ahead of Leo Lund, about a tenth quicker. He was 18 milliseconds quicker through the first sector, but the man to next cross the line is Zach Miles. Unfortunately, there's another driver who has invalidated their lap. Trying to find whichever CPI driver is coming up next. That would be Candy King at the moment, as he approaches in the end of at the end of the second sector. Let's see what he can do there, which improvement he's gonna make. That's about a tenth quicker. That would right now put him up, well, only one position. So let's see if he can find a bit more and try to overhaul his teammate. One of the Williams cars, one of the PD cars I should say, is coming up next as well. And there's Zach Miles, having slowed down already due to his invalidated lap. I'm not sure if he's going to try again. I'd say he won't, because of the, well, the track length and the time you have to qualify here. As Kenny King is about to cross the line, he improves only one position, as predicted, up to 7th. And there's Patrick Dagmeyer, a whole lot quicker, goes up to 4th, only 2 100s behind Victor Whittler. Speaking of Victor Whittler, let's see what he can do as he comes across the line. He's quickest of the lot, for now at least, as he goes the fastest overall with still a 1 minute 40.5. Let's see if somebody can break that one to go into the 1 minute 40.4s or better. Well, there we go. Fox goes 1 millisecond quicker out of these cars. That is very impressive. Paulo Afonso puts PR very well on the board with a P5. Now, that is impressive. That is another 1 minute 40.5. And there we go. Ernesto Jean. This man, ever since he's won this race, is an absolute fire. He goes quickest again, and look at the margin he's put in between himself and the man who's now in second place. That is Exafox. That is quite something, I'd say. Aiden Herc then, another very quick driver. Let's see if he can get himself anywhere close to Janesh's time. A 40.7 only, which puts him just ahead of his teammate in 11th. And that, I think, is a bit of a disappointment for TTM, as they are hunting down NLR for second in the team standings. And NLR at the moment are 3rd and 4th on the grid. So that means TTM has got some work to do. Let's hope they can pull it off. Also, our team returning to the grid, ATX, finds themselves in 9th and 16th only. Especially Istvan Tamashi, I'm sure, can do a whole lot better than this. Let's hope he can find some time on the upcoming final attempt. Of course, there's very little time to get attempts in on this track since it's so long. 3 attempts is the most you can get. So when you invalidate 2 of them, well, that's a problem. And that goes for both Nazir Kizrani and Keanu Leo Toe. Oh, look at Keanu. I think he's getting a toe from his teammate, actually. This is some good teamwork from ABS. Trying to get Keanu to the front. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out. Maybe they just did some practice there. Either way, Exafox is in second. Keanu is in the back at the moment without a lap time still. And time's running out, as Guti Balint has realized, as he's already back on a final attempt out lap. Finds himself in 15th at the moment. 41.1. That's nearly a second slower than his teammate who was on provisional pole. That's quite the difference. Now the other teams might see a bit of a vulnerability here for WR, with Guti being so far down. Unless, of course, this man can find the lap time in the final attempt. I would like to see the time remaining. Unfortunately, the yellow flag completely obscures the clock. That's kind of annoying. But I'd say there's about 3 or 4 minutes left at most. Well, less than that even. I think I saw a 2.5 minute timer there, as the yellow flag went away for just a tiny bit. Let's hope it will go away now. There we go. Not 2.5, 2:50 there was. Now there's a little less than that. And that means the driver will have to come out quick. It's going to be an absolute traffic mayhem, I'm afraid, with everybody exiting the pit lane at pretty much the same time, as Lucas Beisner will be proving to us very soon. There's already, there, look at that. 2 cars. Well, actually not that bad at the moment. Perhaps Janesh can show us then the many more cars coming out of the pit lane. Well, it looks a lot worse from the minimap. But it's not that busy on track yet. Many drivers are still waiting for an even later opportunity. That will prove to us that rain is not going to fall at all in this qualifying session. But you never know for the race whether things like that will happen or not. We'll have to find out, I guess. Also, looks like a double sub there from Harvey. Thank you so much. Let's switch to Guti Bolind, one of the WR drivers. They lead by 44 points from NLR, but NLR finds themselves in 3rd and 4th, while WR finds themselves in 1st and 15th. Several drivers retiring in the pit lane. Istvan Tamashi feels like he can't improve anymore, which is unfortunate. Also, Aiden Hurgd, who probably wasn't able to exit the pit lane in time, has retired already. Exafox is still in as well. He thinks his time is good enough. But we gotta talk about track evolution, because that's definitely a thing here tonight. Let's see if Guti can take the advantage on that track evolution. And hopefully for him not encounter any traffic in the meanwhile. Half a tenth quicker, 29.9. Which is a tenth quicker than Zach Miles' first attempt on the first sector. But then again, that was about 15 minutes ago when the track was still a bit more green than this. Going through Brussels corner. Out of this one here, which doesn't really have a name. Into Puhan we go. On the inside curb a little bit. Oh, that looked like to me he nearly lost control of the car out of our point of view. And he's quickly approaching the large amount of traffic that are on Blanchimont at the moment. With Luke Mills' Red Bull bringing up the rear. This might spell trouble for Guti Bolind. Let's ride on board with him as he's quickly approaching traffic. Let's see if this is going to bring him trouble. He's 2 tenths up at the moment, which right now would only put him up to P13. But there he comes then. He can see the last car on the grid there. There they are. Thankfully for him, they're all now moving out of the way. Several of them are heading back in the pit box as they do not have enough time. 5 drivers have gotten the flag because they were too late. They've left it too long. And 5 drivers, that includes Victor Whitler, Paulo Afonso and Mikhail Lutinsky, which will be fuming right there, since they were not able to make it in time. They've left it too long. The traffic was too slow. Guti Bolind has improved to P13. And now we're going to watch the other PR driver who can still try and set a lap time here. That is Nazir Kisrani, who still hasn't set a proper lap time on the board. Let's see if he can get himself anywhere close to his teammate Paulo Afonso. 12.8 through the middle sector. That is purple according to the game, but keep in mind we'll have to take that one with a grain of salt as he now goes onto Blanchimont, turn 17, coming up right here. Now you would be brave to attempt an overtake right there, but I think, yeah, already I can see Paulo Afonso typing in the Discord. He's not too pleased with the game, which messed up his run to the line apparently. And Nazir Kisrani goes to the line with a 41.1 only, puts him in P15. Now that will be a big disappointment for him. Anyway, onwards to the second Shazoo driver, Matt Guest, with an ATX driver right behind him. That, of course, is Leo Lund, 9th at the moment. Matt Guest in last, but he goes up to P8. Leo Lund goes a lot faster than that, goes up to 2nd place, but barely missing out on pole position. That would have been interesting to see that one happen. Patrick Dagmaier can't improve because his lap time isn't validated. Vugaika, one of the drives to next cross the line. Lucas Bison has improved. Vugaika goes up to 3rd position. Well done to him. Janesh Devjan can't improve, but he stays on provisional pole. So I think the only... Well, never mind. I was about to say the mathematical man that could beat him was Zach Miles, but he's going very slow. So it looks like that isn't happening. And that means qualifying is over already. Janesh Devjan will be starting from pole without improving his lap time on the final attempt. It was enough in the second one. Leo Lund comes very close. Vugaika goes up to 3rd and Exafox in 4th, and NLR will be slightly disappointed that they've been demoted down to P5 and P6. That's not very ideal. Also, the thing that is ideal, however, is the fact that we didn't see any grid penalties coming up. So that means no lobby restart and no extra waiting time for you viewers. And that means we can actually dive into the race straight away. And that still begs the question, what will the weather do? Will there be rain? Or will it all be dry throughout, like most of the other races? Let's find out in a few minutes what the weather will do. Zach Miles the last to head into the pit lane. Safety car on the right. I wonder if the safety car is going to be necessary today. Of course, Spa, especially a lap 1, turn 1, can be quite nasty. Anyway, Let's have a little look at the final results from qualifying. No restart, I'd say. Dinesh Dovjan on pole position, as said before. Leoland for ATX in second place, which is a great return for them tonight after a week absence due to a double race ban. Then Vuk Gaika for CPI, they need that. In third position, very strong indeed. ABS in fourth, which is good news for them, trying to hunt down second and third in the standings, especially considering TTM is much further back. Victor Whittler, 5, P6 for Zach Miles, Alfonso, P7, then Mikhail Lutensky, P8, Patrick Deckmeyer in P9, Matt Guest in 10th. The rest of the grid looking like this. TTM has definitely got their work cut out for them. Istvan Tamashi bringing up the rear in P18 and last position. I'd say WR with Guti only P15 might be in trouble with other teams trying to hunt Janesh down, as Janesh is very much lonely up there, especially NLR, of course. They've got 2 cars right behind one another. They can work together to try and catch the 4 cars ahead of them to regain the lead and take off some points from WR's big lead of 44 points. Make sure to leave your prediction in the chat as well. As you can see right there, will WR lead tonight? After tonight, most of you, everybody who's put in channel points there has said yes. And that, of course, means will WR lead after tonight in the standings? I mean, they're leading by 44 points. Something big will have to happen for that not to happen. Well, let's see if they also lead in the race after turn 1. Weather-wise, looks like the sun is out at the moment. Let's see if it stays that way throughout the race. There's still a bit of clouds as far as I can see from the top left. So they could still play a factor. It's not fully sunny. It's not a clear blue sky. And confirmed, no restart needed as there were no grid penalties. Just waiting here in big anticipation for the race to start. You can see the cameraman in the bottom left being quite nervous. Maybe this is his first time controlling such a big camera. We also see a Red Bull man just below him trying to hide. He probably doesn't want to be filmed. And of course, all the way to the left, you can see the cars lined up in the grid already. Determining strategies, I'd say most will start at the hards as usual. Maybe Dinesh will once again try medium to soft or vice versa. Something he's apparently really good at. And he's successfully executed every single race except Canada, where the full wets were mandatory due to the weather. In fact, had that lobby not been restarted, the weather would have been so bad that there would have been a lot of safety cars. So it was probably for the best that it was restarted due to grid penalties being applied in qualifying. Anyway, get yourselves ready for 22 laps of racing and let me know in the chat who you think team-wise is going to win this race tonight. There we go then, the lights are coming on right now. 3, 4, 5. Let's see if Dinesh can keep the lead from Leo Lund in second place in the front row as well. And off they go. Looks like a pretty good start from both first and second place. Vugaika tries to go alongside Leo Lund here, but that looks like Victor Whittler actually taking Vugaika's place and going up to third already and immediately trying to challenge Leo Lund for second place. Dinesh Dovjan has gotten away safely and so has everybody else so far. Paulo Afonso challenging Exofox for sixth position. Successfully taking the positions from the Mercedes. We see Mikhail Lutensky and Matt Guest very close together there, especially with Exofox as he tries to challenge him for position. Leo Lund is trying to take the lead, and he does so successfully, going into the corner. The new race leader here is now Leo Lund, and Dinesh Dovjan, I think, actually somewhat letting go, and probably realizing that Victor Whittler is going to be much faster than him as well in this first part of the race, as Nazir Khazrani has had an incident. His teammate Paulo Afonso still fighting for a position, and Dinesh Dovjan already fallen down to fourth position. His pole has not been converted into the race lead at the end of this lap, but he tries to fight back onto the podium with Vugaika, who can't defend from the WR driver at this point on the track, and immediately finds himself under attack from Paulo Afonso. He attacks him from this corner. Not often a point you try to see somebody do an overtake, but he manages to do it. Probably got a warning from going a little bit off track there. Probably could get rid of that because they were racing side by side there. and he takes the position now, goes up into 4th. Soft tire users all round, and there's a bad exit for Paulo Afonso, nearly catching the Alfa Romeo of Zach Miles off guard, and there's absolute mayhem here as they come together. There's nearly a massive accident. Oh, the Alpine going onto the grass. It's absolute chaos as Paulo Afonso now loses positions a lot faster than he would have liked, probably. A big dive bomb by Gaika as he tries to regain the positions he's lost since the race start. He was 3rd for a moment, finds himself in P8 now with both PD drivers behind, Exofox ahead. Shizou drivers doing a brilliant job to come up to P5 and 6, but NLR at the moment with Victor Whittler leading the race, Leo Lund following suit, Janesh Dejan trying to stay with the top 2, but seemingly struggling a little bit, at least at this point in the race. Zach Miles to close the gap, to try and close the gap behind him, but so far, apart from the 2 incidents with Aiden Hurd apparently as well, and Nazir Kazrani, and the few bumps with some cars in the middle of the field right now, it's going quite swell there. Leo Lund getting very close to the race leader there on the main straight. Well, the back straight, I should say. Or the camel straight, which is officially called. And Paulo Afonso, despite his soft tires, losing more positions than he probably would have liked. Speaking of positions, let's have a little bit of a look at how many they've all gained. Shizou has gotten a great start. Look at that. Both of their cars have gone up 3 and 4 positions respectively for Maciej Lutinsky and Matt Guest, and they now follow one another to try and chase the top 4 down. Janesh Dovjan is about to lose connection and now has fully lost connection to the DRS of the 2 cars ahead, which means they'll try and pull away from the man who won last race in Silverstone and the man who is one of the drivers of the leading team in this championship. And this, of course, is good news for NLR, who also finds that Guti Balin finds himself in 14th at the moment, trying to chase down Candy King for P13. We're about to finish lap 2, which means another lap without DRS yet. Of course, for next year's regulations, which of course for us is this year's regulations, DRS will be enabled at the start of lap 2 actually. That means DRS is going to be enabled at the start of lap 3 for this year, meaning that will happen right now. With Victor Whittler going fastest overall, but Janesh Dovjan following suit immediately. And he's already trying to close the gap once again. DRS enabled right there. This is crucial for Janesh. He is still within range. Zach Miles, unfortunately, is not yet able to keep up. He tries to close the gap to within 1 second. Has it worked, though? Was he on the within 1 second? I think his battery light might have been already flashing there, was it? It is. He's pushed exceptionally hard as Leo Lund goes and retakes the lead from Victor Whittler. Up the ATX driver goes into P1 again. And now that means Victor Whittler is actually just somewhat letting him go, trying to stay with him as much as possible. Of course, this track is quite hard on the tires, so I'm surprised this many drivers have started on the softs. Let's switch back to the tire graphics right here with Lucas Beiser and Vuk Gaika fighting for position, but not only those two, Paulo Afonso tries to sneak through as well. Unsuccessfully though, as they both try to defend the positions from him. Paulo Afonso, of course, on the soft tires, finds himself under threat from Kenny King from behind as well. Also on the soft, and I think they came together right there. There goes Vuk Gaika. Spins off the track because Paulo Afonso was on his inside. I'm not sure if he saw him there, but that was really the place to overtake. It was in Pujon, a very difficult corner to get right without somebody on your inside. And this time Paulo was there. But he will not be pleased with this move there. Now both of these drivers find themselves at the back of the field. Still within touching distance though of the groups ahead. And look at this. Leo Lund and Victor Whittler still fighting for a position, allowing Janesh Dovjan to easily catch back up, and Zach Miles as well. He was 1.5 seconds behind before the chicane. Now it's about 1.3 seconds. Of course, he still's got no DRS, so this will definitely not help him whatsoever. Maciej Lutinsky behind, trying to catch up still. Matt Guest is trying to stay with his teammate, and behind them there's a 2-second gap to Exofox, who finds himself under threat from both BD cars, with Patrick Deckmeyer and Lucas Beisner trying to overtake the ABS car. Back to the front of the field, there's Leo Lund, Janesh Dovjan, and Victor Whittler fighting for the lead of the race, and it's Leo Lund sliding back in P1, Janesh Dovjan going back up to second, and has regained control almost of this race as he now tries to chase down the race leader of the ATX team. So far, a good start for these three drivers. Maciej Lutinsky has overtaken Zach Miles in the meanwhile. He finds himself in a Shizou sandwich. It actually sounds like something a Starbucks place could sell, or sorry, a Subway place could sell. The Shazoo sandwich. Who wouldn't like that one? The playing duck sandwich is another thing here for Exafox. He's in between both PD cars. And Exafox appears to be struggling a little bit, as Lugnus Beisner is nearly plowing himself into the big gearbox of the Mercedes. Exafox, who had a pretty good start, now fighting for P8 and P9. Not something he would have liked, considering his pretty good qualifying performance. Unfortunately, he was not able to get out in time, leaving him stranded in the pit box. And therefore not able to improve his lap time. And he found himself a lot lower on the grid than he probably would have liked. Anyway, lap 5 it is. And the entire top 6 is now within 1 second. Patrick Dagmeyer leading the second group of cars all the way down to P14. Then Paulo Afonso is alone. Vugaika and Nazir Kisrani are together, trying to tell one another along. Or at least I hope for their sake that they're doing that. And then Aiden Hurgt all alone in last place. Not something he likes to see. He's a quick driver. He shouldn't be there. So he'll be hoping for a safety car. Otherwise it's going to be a long and lonely race for him. Switch to the mediums after the race start as well. In the meanwhile, Keanu Liatou, and there somehow Candy King has gone off the track, so that means something has happened there for sure. With Istvan Tamashi getting past as well. The man who started in last place finds himself in 11th already. And trying to keep up with the rest of the cars. He's still well within a shot of the top 10. But do keep in mind that the top 15 does score points in this series. So all the way down to Paulo Afonso. It's going to be points all round for them. Luke Mills now overtaking Kenny King. Kenny King might probably have gotten some damage from that incident at the end of the Camel Straight. Not sure what happened there. But we'll try to keep an eye out for as many overtakes as possible here. There might be coming up another one right here. With Candy King really struggling. Probably has some wing damage then. There's no other way of describing this. And Nazir Kisrani is out of the race. They probably collided them with Vugaika, and that causes the safety car. And unlucky for the top 4, they've gone past the pit lane. Fortunately for Zach Miles and Matt Guest, they were just in time. That is an absolute treat for the guys in 5th and lower. The top 4, well, they're lucky the pit lane the safety car hasn't exited the pit lane. And Vugaika now gets a drive-through penalty for speeding on the safety car. That is even worse news for him. For a moment there, I thought the top 4 was unlucky. However, they can still go for a pit stop since the safety car hasn't come out before they reach the place where he should have come out. So that means these 4 guys can still pit after all and lose only a little bit of time to the guys in 5th and lower, with Zach Miles leading that way. Let's see if that's actually true at the end of this lap. This is good news, of course, for Aiden Hurgt as well. He's now switched to hard tires and can catch up back to the field. One day he'll go to the safety car. A 5-second penalty for Luke Mills for a severe collision with Istvan Tamashi. But interestingly, Istvan is a P14, so I'm not sure what happened there. I saw several cars overtaking him. Luke will be very, very displeased with this one. I also got some interesting news about Paulo Afonso. Apparently he's going to be disqualified because he wasn't in the lineup. So he isn't even supposed to be here. Which means right now he's racing for nothing. And that is even worse news for PR, as their actual legal driver, so to say, is out of the race. The nightmare just doesn't end for PR. Not sure how Paulo Afonso is in here then. Probably a bit of miscommunication. And there goes the top 4 as predicted. All 4 of them in. And now let's find out if Zach Miles and his comrades down the field are able to do anything about it. Which I don't think they will. Like they've all gotten out already. Leo Lund still in the lead of the race. All 4 cars are now through. Zach Miles is right here. Approaching turn 1. I think the top 4 is still pretty much safe. There they are. Yep. Past the safety car line. All of them go on the fresh mediums. This is a lucky thing then for them. Interestingly, Victor has decided to go for the hards. So he might be quite vulnerable here. All of the drivers switch to the mediums. Except for Victor. And Paulo Afonso as well. It seems Vugaika has decided to pit again. Go for a set of fresh softs. Luke Mills, of course, trying to serve his 5-second penalty, which he actually can under safety car conditions. Vugaika, though, he can't serve his drive-through under these conditions, which he probably tried to do. And now he finds himself on soft tires he probably even didn't want to be in the first place. That's not good news for CPI. Either way, almost every driver on the mediums. The top 4 on the freshest. Victor Whitler on the hards. And some confusion for Team PR already, it seems. Now we're just waiting for both TTM cars to rejoin the field. It's a bit unfortunate for them that they find themselves at the back of the field while fighting for second in the championship. And that seems really far away, especially with NLR in 3rd and 5th. WR at the moment 2nd and 10th. And another fairly near rival. ABS in P8 and P13. It's probably something they won't like too much either. Exafox looked really quick in qualifying. Couldn't get his final lap done though. Let's find out if Leo Lund can keep Janesh behind. Because as I said before, Janesh is an absolute fire at the moment. We also know NLR is quite good at being strategic in races. Zach Miles is quite good at trying to make overtakes wherever he can. And Shazoo, I'd say, are quite good at surprising everybody for suddenly being there, as we saw in Canada, where they won the race. As Vugaika goes in again, so do... No, Vugaika didn't come in actually, I stand corrected. Paulo Afonso has come in. And Luke Mills as well. Paulo switching to the mediums. Luke Mills switching to the mediums as well. He's realized that driving on the hards in the back of the field is not going to be very helpful. Why are we lost? Yep, pitted twice on the safety car. All bad things have happened for TTM at the moment. We also find PD quite high up there in 9th and 7th. Let's see what they can do from there in their Williams cars. ATX is a bit all over the place. One car in the lead, the other in 12th. And then CPI only in 11th and 14th. There, I believe from the top of my head, are doing really well in the PlayStation tier. On PC though, they're not really up there at the moment. But you never know. I mean, Vugaika is looking quick. He's just had bad luck with the incidents happening, especially at the start of the race. Kenny King, of course, had it come together with another car as well. But now I believe their cars are repaired. However, Vuk still has to serve a drive-through penalty, which he can't do until the safety car comes in. And then he has 3 laps to do it. That will definitely ruin his race unless another safety car comes out. But he will have to wait until he can actually serve that penalty. We'll soon probably get the announcement that the safety car is coming in this lap. There we go. And that means Leo Lund will be leading the way from the rest of the field. Just bunching them all up pretty much. Hoping to catch others unaware. Or a bit sleeping. Let's see if he can do that. Janesh Davjan keeping up with him there. He's waiting for the moment where Leo is gonna go for it. course, don't forget, they cannot overtake until the start-finish line. So Leo could pretty much just floor it right here, and Janesh will not be able to overtake him whatsoever. And it looks like Leo Lund is off. There he goes. And Janesh finds himself with half a second of a gap to cover. But he will not be able to overtake anyways. Everybody is off right now. And Paulo Afonso, I believe, has been informed of the things that are going on behind the scenes. And he's probably going to retire in the pit lane as he realized he will be disqualified anyway. That's at least what it looks like right here. And the race has officially been restarted. Everybody right behind one another. Luke Mills somehow having missed the mark and already more than a second behind. That's Keanu Lioto getting an absolute nightmare there. And turn 1 finds himself at the back of the field already. Something has happened there for sure. Aiden Hurd, there he is, challenging Vuk Gaika. However, there's more fights happening up to the front of the field with Mikhail Lutinsky and Victor Whitler fighting for a position. You saw Leo Lund and Janesh Devjan fighting for a bit as well, but they do realize fights are happening behind them, so maybe they'll have to take it a bit more easy. Victor Whitler now gone a bit too wide, a bit too enthusiastically, and that means he now gets a 3-second time penalty. And that is bad news for NLR. They've already left more than a second of a gap to the top 2. That means Janesh and Leo and are fighting for the race win. At least for the time being. Victor Whitler under threat from the cars behind. Zach Miles trying to stay with Mikhail Lutinsky there. Team Shizu could easily sneak up out of nowhere, as they do like to do in this league. Or this series, I should say. With Luke Mills overtaking Vuk Gaika there for P14. TTM trying to move up the field. Luke Mills, though, 1.6 seconds behind his teammate. He will not have DRS, and he'll probably see this group disappear for sure. There goes Mikhail Lutinsky on Victor Whitler for 3rd position in the race. 1.3 seconds behind the top 2. He's got some gap to cover. DRS, though, will not be enabled yet, so he'll have to make it hurry up. There goes the 2 teammates of Zach Miles and Victor Whitler. Victor lets Zach Miles through. He is trying to cooperate with Zach right here to make sure they keep the positions that they plan to occupy here, with Guti Balin in 10th and Janesh Devjan in 2nd. NLR has got a great opportunity to claw back some points from the championship leaders. However, it's easier said than done, as per usual. Vugaika coming to surface right through penalty. Keanu Lioto going through back into the points. Only one car now out of the points that are still racing. Vugaika is that car right now. And Janesh Devjan, is he going to go for the move? Yes, he is. There he goes then. WR retakes the lead of the Belgium Grand Prix. And off he goes. Let's see if he can take it away with Leo Lund. Mikhail Lutinsky desperately trying to catch up. 1.5 seconds of a gap to the top 2. It's going to be difficult, especially with the cars behind trying to overtake you as well. We are reaching the halfway point of this race. 1 safety car out so far, extending the duration of this race a little bit for sure. You see Matt Guest getting really close now to Victor Whitler. It looks like Victor is struggling a little bit in terms of pace on those hard tires. His race will probably start a bit later down the line. If there's no more safety cars, he might be in for a short return to form when the mediums are starting to drop off. But when will that be? Keep in mind that several of these laps you see shown on the screen right now have been driven under safety car conditions. Do not forget it. It means these tires are a bit fresher than the graphics are showing, at least. Zach Miles coming up to the rear of Mikhail Lutinsky. He's got 1.6 seconds to the top 2. DRS is enabled now. This is going to spell trouble for McKay. Let's see if he can keep behind Zach Miles. I find it unlikely at the moment. Zach Miles would probably like to get past to try and make his way to the top 2. Leo Lund will have to stay in DRS range to have any chance at fighting Janesh for the lead. We saw the gap slightly increasing, and here he goes. Zach Miles, with barely having even a little bit of DRS, already moves up to 3rd place. Mikhail Lutinsky using the slipstream. We see a bit further ahead Leo Lund and Janesh working together, and another 2 Aston Martin for Alfa Romeo. Whoa! Matt Guest nearly loses the car by fighting Victor Whitler for position, but Victor Whitler stays in P5 for the time being Exafox saw that incident most likely, but he has to look in the rear view mirrors as well, as Patrick Dagmeier is very, very close. Lucas Beisner finds himself under threat from Guti Balind, who seems to have found his race pace. Guti trying to make sure he gets as close as he can to Lucas Beisner's PD car. Plenty of fights happening all over the track. But of course the big fight happening right here. This is probably going to be another big game of patience for these top two drivers. Zach Miles is probably trying to cooperate with Shizou. It's NLR and Shizou, I think. If they are smart, they're going to be cooperating to catch the two leaders. Especially NLR, because that's what I need. They shouldn't have a lot of fighting going on here. That will definitely hamper their lap times. And Exavox knows it. And he now gets really close to Matt Guest. And he's going to try and attempt an overtake. And it's going to happen potentially here in the hairpin or the chicane. No, it isn't. But he does show himself in the mirrors several times. Getting his car as big as he can in those rearview mirrors. And letting Matt Guest know that he's ready to attack. His teammate, Keanu, finds himself far behind the rest of the field. 5.5 seconds right now, and the gap is going to increase thanks to the long DRS train. Leo Lund is probably going to take the lead of the race right here. Cooperating with Janesh Dovjan to keep that gap as big as possible. Michaela Tinsing and Zach Miles doing the same. Victor Whitler and Matt Guest, though, we saw them fighting beforehand. This time, though, they leave one another in one whole piece. Exafox was not able to pounce upon that small gap he had on Blanchimont. Couldn't overtake him. Finds himself about half a second back and still under threat from the PD cars behind. We now see the NLR cars nearly side by side with one another. It seems like Victor Whitler on his hard tires is starting to find the pace again. And potentially we could see another switch between these two drivers, depending on how quick Victor Whitler can be. They're most likely communicating with one another, which is important since this is a team game. The glory for the teams is more important than individual glory in the series, and that's what I like about this. It's always a lot of fun to see a different take on Formula 1 racing. While you can still win something as an individual driver, the prizes for the teams are much, much bigger. There goes Matt Guest trying to go around the outside into the bus stop chicane. Is it going to work? No, that's the question. Victor Whitler doesn't really like to back out that easily, but he has to. And Exafox tries to sweep in on the inside as well. Now they're nearly side by side with one another, but Exafox, of course, had a bad exit due to that overtake. And Matt Guest now has lost connection to the two cars ahead, and that's bad news for him. He's only got one chance to catch back up, and that's right here. Otherwise, this is probably a lost cause for the Shizou driver, unless Mikhail Latinsky can back Zach Miles up to allow his teammate to get some DRS again. Janesh Devjan and Leo Lund switching places. Zach Miles and Mikhail Latinsky doing the same thing. Victor Whitler and Matt Guest as well, and Exafox decides to chime in a little bit as well there. Tries to get past the Aston Martin, but Matt Guest is not going to give up that easily. He's gonna have the inside in the Brussels corner. Wow, and there goes Patrick Dagmeier nearly into the back of the Mercedes there. And actually Lucas Beisner is the one who falls victim to this situation all of a sudden. Loses a load of places, no longer behind his teammate. Guti Balind finds himself in 9th right now. Very close to the rear of Patrick Dagmeier's car. This race so far has been pretty unpredictable throughout these positions. The only two predictable cars are those in the top two. Otherwise, it's anybody's guess who's going to finish where. Some strange incidents have happened so far. I wonder what happened to Lucas Beisner. As it was Patrick Dagmeier on the attack. In fact, it's now Guti Balind on the attack, and Patrick Dagmeier finding himself in a lot of trouble. Also losing a lot of positions. He's lost 3 already. And he's about to lose even more. Aiden Hurt is getting past. His teammate is getting past as well. What's happened to Patrick Dagmeier here? Lucas Beisner is now on the offensive once again, trying to take Aiden Hurt for 11th position. This is a tough one. Matt Guest is forced to pit apparently. He might have gotten some damage, unless this is an undercut attempt, because he thinks the medians won't last the distance, which I wouldn't be surprised about at all. Let's have a quick look to see what Matt Guest is doing. That's a tire change for sure. Fresh mediums for the rest of the race. Mikhail Lutinsky switching places with Zach Miles once again. So do Janesh Dovjan and Leo Lund. I wonder if they are going to pit as well. If Matt Guest can do this, pull this off well, he might have placed a massive undercut. Aiden Hurgt and Patrick Dagmeyer are still fighting for places. Aiden Hurgt finds himself under attack from both PD cars there. He's probably not a happy man. Another TTM car is coming up behind Patrick there. In fact, he's already ahead. Luke Mills up into P12. In the meanwhile, Gutting Belind is driving a brilliant race. All the way from P15 now up to 7th. And still challenging somebody else for position. That is Exofox in P6. Wonder if he's going to take that position. Victor Whitler now with the quicker tires. The quickest, I'd say, of the field. Apart from Matt Guest, who's going to fresh mediums. And I wonder if Matt Guest's pit is going to trigger the others to do the same thing. Thank you, Tez. I try. I guess that's the upside of having studied several languages at middle school, even though it's been years ago. I've, of course, Dutch, and there is English as well. French and German too, although French is mostly sunk away in my brains, somewhere deep down there. German I can speak reasonably okay-ish. I can at least understand what the Germans are saying. And English is an easily fluent language for me. Either way, cars are pitting. And that means these meetings will definitely not last the distance, but I wonder if some drivers are going to try and attempt it. Apart from McKay, it could also be Mache. Or Massey, yeah. I feel like McKay sounds a lot more natural, but you know, if he finishes 3rd, let's ask him. Because then we might have an interview with him. But thank you, Derp. Yeah, I'm not really sure about it myself either. Sometimes just names, you know. It's always a challenge. But I try. So I'm happy to hear I am not butchering names anymore. That's an improvement on my end for sure. Anyway, past the halfway point easily right now. I think Victor Whitler would really like to get past his teammate here. I think Zach Miles is costing him quite a bit of time. And there we go, I'd say. Yep, nice and easy does it. Zach Miles realizing that Victor is now the fastest of the two. Unfortunately, a little bit too late, as Victor is now outside of the DRS range of Mikhail Lutinsky. And I'm not sure if Victor is going to be too pleased with that one. But he also probably feels like McKay could still pit. And I think Victor is going to finish the race on these tires. And I wonder if that's going to be an effective strategy. Nonetheless, I see very few people on those mediums pitting for a fresh set. So I wonder if Matt Guest has made the correct decision. Same goes for Patrick Dagmeyer. I'm not doing PSGL, by the way. I'm only doing WR at the moment. Tier 3 PC, and then of course this one. So 2 commentating jobs as we speak. But that of course could still change in the future. There's many leagues, many places I could still commentate for. Zach Miles going back ahead of Victor Whitler, these two towing one another along. Even though Victor is on the fresher tires, he lets him past. And we have a yellow flag. There's a big situation. Let's quickly switch to Istvan Tamashi, who's had a big come together, I believe, with one of the TTM cars, Aiden Hurgt, or maybe Lucas Beiser. I'm not sure what happened there, but it's an incident nonetheless. He's now dropped down to P12. No, I'm not Myth. I'm Frost. But don't worry. Dutchies sound pretty much the same all the time, don't they? With a very recognizable accent. Although I try to hide it as much as possible. And I believe I'm doing a better job than the average Dutchman. Don't worry. No offense taken. At least you recognize the Dutch accent. Anyway, we're about to enter lap 17. Yolan taking a slightly different line through the chicane there. But I think the fight for the lead won't be on until the very last lap. Whoever is behind will have the benefit of DRS, so I'd say Leo and Janesh will have to play it smart. They have a near 4-second gap to the cars behind. We see more drivers pitting. Istvan Tamashi and Aiden Hurkt. They might have been the two drivers who came together then. Because Bison are doing the same thing. And I wonder if these drivers are keeping it out there until they can switch to the softs. Janesh Dovjan staying ahead of Leo Lund. Leo realizing that DRS has got the benefits for the final of this race. Several cars overtaking one another. There goes Exafox and Victor Whitler. Somehow Victor's hards are not working out the way he would have liked. Of course, those straights are so long and his battery is apparently quite empty at the moment. But he can't keep them behind on the straights. In the corners though, look at that. He's pretty much keeping up with them quite easily. He even has to back off to make sure no incidents happen. And meanwhile, Candy King in P7 at the moment, fighting with Guti Balint just behind him. It is a stretch indeed. But as it stands, it's a smarter strategy than switching to new tires. Aiden Hurkt has switched to the softs. There's no way he's going to catch up with the rest of the field in time. This track is so long, and the pit lane, of course, is quite slow as well, and lengthy too. Even though it doesn't really show that on the map. Of course, the map shows the entirety of Spa. And Spa is a big track to begin with. So I wonder which one is going to work out best, switching to fresh tires now, or staying out until the end. Leo Lund finds himself struggling now. Nearly lost DRS there. And none of these drivers are coming, and I don't think, if they're not going to pit by the end of this lap, they will not pit at all, I'd say. Candy King and Guti Balint really close together there. I think there's going to be an overtake coming up quite soon between these two drivers. Guti Balint wants to score as many points for WR as possible in his first race this season for them. That will definitely leave an impression, and there he goes, on the attack. Candy King doesn't fight it, he knows it's a lost cause anyway. And all he has to do is stay within the slipstream to make sure he can re-attack, or retake the position I should say, on the next lap. Mikhail Lutinsky leading a group of 4 cars for the final podium position. They find the top 2 disappearing in the distance more and more. The gap now over 4 seconds. McKay knows he cannot catch up to them anymore. All he has to do now is watch behind what happens there. And LR will have to get more positions than this. P4 and P6, not ideal yet. But Victor's tires are still in their primes, somewhat-ish. While those mediums are way past their primes right now. Istvan Tamashi finds himself being overtaken by Matt Guest on those fresh mediums. As Matt is trying to catch up to the group he was in the first place. And that is the group fighting for third, but he's still quite far behind. I don't think he can close that gap in time. So let's see what happens. The top 2 stay out. So that means they will not pit anymore. And Matt Guest might be screwed a little bit. He probably thought that and hoped that the rest would pit as well. And now he has to hurry up. And push as hard as he can. Trying to get past Keanu Lioto next. Lap 19 of 22. Little under 4 laps to go with this one included. Leo Lund sitting behind Janesh Dovjan. Those will be the fights. That will be the fight for the lead of the race. Victor Whitler with Exafox right here. Exafox, is he going to defend? Yes, he's trying to defend from Victor Whitler. This could cost them both dearly. Exafox, can he stay ahead though? Nearly pushes Victor off into the gravel. But Victor is now going to have to try and go around the outside, which is a tricky one here in Brussels. Exafox is managing to stay ahead just barely and within DRS range still. Both of them though have got a 3-second time penalty, so their positions on track between themselves are crucial. Not so much as compared to the other two. But Victor Whitler would like to get another point here on the board for NLR. They need as many points as possible as Janesh is still leading. And they will be having their fingers crossed madly for Leo Lund to take that race lead at the end. 3.5 seconds now. McKay is pushing. He's managed to get the gap down quite sizably actually, by more than half a second now. He's doing a good job. Zach Miles staying right behind him. The field is pretty much spread out with Vugaika thanks to his drive-through penalty far behind. Then there is Aiden and Lucas fighting together for the last 2 points paying positions. Patrick Dagmeyer after an incident. Both PD drivers have been involved in incidents and have switched to fresh mediums. Find themselves well out of great points positions. And they will not be able to close that gap in time. But Matt Guest though, he's on a roll. He's now up in 10th place. With a 5.7 second gap to the next car. But his tires are already 6 laps old. Even though that's still a lot fresher. They are probably at their prime or just past them right now. I wonder how long he can keep this pace up. Compared to the rest ahead. Luke Mills in P9. Just out of DRS range of the 2 cars ahead. Candy King and Guti Balint are desperately trying to get to the 4 cars ahead. Watching the race leader right here, Dinesh Dovjan. I wonder if he's getting nervous about Leo Lund behind all the time. Leo Lund has probably saved up a lot of battery, but I wouldn't be surprised if Dinesh has done the same. Shouldn't forget though that Dinesh for this race has started on the hards. That's a first for him in this season on the hard tires. He's never started on the hards before, actually raced on them for that matter. We are reaching the finale, and then we will know who will be the best out of these two, Leo Lund and Dinesh Dovjan. Make sure to stay tuned for when that great battle will unfold. Leo Lund is struggling a little bit to keep up, but he's staying within DRS range, and I say that is the most important thing. With 2 laps to go, it could still be either of them winning it. Could Dinesh clinch another race for the team? That's the big question. Is Leo Lund on returning to form and returning to this series after a double race ban for the team going to take home 35 points for ATX? Because that would be quite important as well. Leo's wings are too low. That will explain actually why he's struggling to keep up with Dinesh in the middle sector. But on the straights though, that means he's quick. And look at him catching rapidly. Now he's testing how much and how quickly he can catch up. Next lap though, that's the moment he has to strike with Mikhail Lutinsky having several cars behind. It's once again Victor Wickler. And oh, an Exafox, I was about to say fighting for position, but that has turned out pretty badly for them. Thank goodness Exafox was ghosted there, otherwise we would have had some horrible accidents. And now the ABS car is way out of contention to catch TTM and NLR for better points in the championship, better positions I should say. ABS in 4th at the moment. Although to be fair, TTM with 8th and 15th not doing that great tonight either. ABS in 9th and 11th. Matt Guest is approaching Exafox right here. Shizou could take some additional points, but Mikhail Lutinsky is doing great for them. That could be another podium for Shizou, and they need that. But let's soon switch to Leo Lund and Dinesh Dovjan. Let's see how this is going to play out for them. Some spoilers in the chat about ERS as we now start the last lap of the race. Can McKay keep all the cars behind? He's only got 2 NLR cars behind right now, but it's a whole team of cars behind. But first and foremost, let's see if Leo Lund can go for the lead of the race. 0.7 of a second back. And he has to use all of his battery. Already the light is flashing though, and this is terrible news for Leo Lund. He might already be screwed. He's not able to catch quickly enough. Even with DRS, the gap is only coming down. Just not enough. It's not enough whatsoever. And Mikhail Lutinsky, hounded by Zach Miles, who takes the 3rd place from him. However, Victor Widler was too far back on the old hards. Interestingly, despite those tires that should be better, Victor was not able to make the most of it. In the same time, though, Candy King and Guti Balint. Oh my goodness, another incident right here. And Guti Balint really doing everything he can to stay ahead of Candy King. Candy King has to back out here to prevent more accidents from happening there. Luke Mills now finds himself in this fight as well. But I'd say Dinesh Dovjan has got this one in the bag. Leo Lund has to back out. His battery is empty. His wings too low. He can't keep up anymore. He's used too much of the ERS in the previous laps to stay with Janesh. But this fight, I'd say, is not over yet. Zach Miles, Mikhail Lutinsky, Victor Whittler is going to come out best. We have another yellow flag with his son Tamashi spinning out on his own, I think. Can Mikhail Lutinsky get close enough to make the move? 3/10s, 2.5/10s is not going to be enough unless it's a massive dive bomb. But Zach Miles defends as Janesh Dovzhan comes across the line to take the race win. Another one in the back for him, 2 in a row. That is really impressive in this league. Candy King and Guti Berlin, the other WR driver, still fighting. Luke Mills slotting in behind. Can he do something to make the most of it? He can't. Candy King is edging ahead of Guti Berlin, taking P6. And of course, Leoland in second place. That's the best he could do right here, I'd say. With the different car setup he had. Zach Miles in third. Once again, 2 third places in a row. Same goes for Janesh with 2 wins in a row. Mikhail Lutinsky just hanging on to P4 from Victor Whittler with a 3-second time penalty, of course. Don't forget that one. Behind in P5. Then Kenny King finishing P6. Guttibel in the 7th. Luke Mills P8. Matt Guest, thanks to Exofox's penalty in P9. With Exofox finishing in P10. WR seems to be quite unbeatable when Janesh is behind the wheel. And Guti Berlin has done a great job of scoring some extra points for the team as well. Don't forget that one. There they are then, the race results as they stand. Janesh Dovzhan winning it with Leo Lund in second. Then Zach Miles in P3, Mikhail Lutinsky P4, Victor Whittler in P5, then Kenny King in P6. In 7th place we've got Guti Berlin, Luke Mills in P8, Matt Guest in P9 and Exofox in 10th. Then the rest of the field with Keanu Lioto in P11. After several incidents, Patrick Deckmeyer involved in an incident and a pit stop extra as well in P12. Then Aiden Hurd in P13 with the fastest lap, an extra point there. Lucas Beiser in P14. Istvan Tamashi, we saw him spinning out several times in P15. Vukaika, the last to finish, in 16th. And the only car without points with both PR cars. Just having another double DNF for the team. PR just can't seem to get off the ground properly so far at the halfway point this season. Right, let's see if any of the top 3 drivers are up for an interview. Let's tag them in the Discord. And hear from them about this race. I'd say they had a pretty... Well, despite all the fights happening at the front, they had a relatively quiet race. A lot more things happened further back for other positions. Especially Janesh and Leo. They just had an easy time, I'd say. Especially since the cars behind started fighting and were unable to catch back up. Nonetheless, Janesh is already in for his interview. So let's quickly pull up our very fancy and new interview screen here. And let's see what Janesh has to say. There he is. Janesh, welcome and congratulations. That's 2 in a row now for you. You're on a roll, aren't you?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, I'm on a roll.
This race, Spa. Last week you said WR is very strong this season, and I think you pretty much proved it. But was this one an easy victory, or did you have to fight hard for it?
Well, in my opinion, it's one of my best tracks, if not the best.
Mm-hmm.
So I expected at least a front row or like a top 3 in qualifying. And then in the race, it was just pure mind games. Like 10 laps to go, it was just pure mind games of who will stay ahead into which lap. But at the end, my tires were better than his because I noticed he was sliding on the traction a lot, so he burned his tires like to the max pretty much. There's probably like a 10% difference at least in the tire wear at the end.
How much were your tires on? Because then I can actually ask about Leo's tires when he comes in soon.
Oof, good question. I'd say around like 65, 70. I don't know. Not sure.
Okay. Let's see what Leo's tires were on then.
Uh,
Curious to know about that one. Either way, WR is now really strong in the lead in the championship. There's still half a season to go. Well, let's see. The rest of the season. Let's have a little look at the calendar, actually. Are there any tracks you are worried about with Spain, Hungary, Bahrain, Japan, Las Vegas, and Brazil?
Wait, I have to look at the calendar myself. Okay, next is Spain.
Yes.
Good track for me. Historically as well. So I would say I'm strong there. Hungary, I don't like. Bahrain, I don't like, and everything else is. I guess it's fine. It could be worse,
All right. Well, 2 victories in a row. Enjoy that one, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on to the man who came home in second place, Leo Lund. Congratulations on that position. You were very close behind Janesh Dovjan all race. You even led the race for a few laps at the start. The safety car, was it a blessing or a curse for you?
Curse.
A curse.
Yeah, I was way too low on the wings. And when my tires hit over 60%, it was GG's. Like higher wings in drop off, especially on the second drop off, it's clear with tire wings on this track.
Yeah, so by the end, your battery was empty and your tires were dead. How much percent were your tires on by the end of the race?
I think it was like 73, I don't know. Carlson, no.
Yeah. I asked Janesh the same question, and his tires then were definitely quite a bit fresher. But let's move a bit further back in the race. You were very close to pole position. The race victory, was that on your mind at any point during this Grand Prix?
Nah, I had no expectation to win because I only did 3 laps practice. But yeah, I sadly bottled pole in quali, but second place I think is better, so you have the slipstream in the first sector in the straight.
Yeah. So 3 laps of practice and still finishing second. So is this something you were happy about, or were you hoping for that first place?
What was your question again?
Well, you finished second with only 3 laps of practice, so I was wondering if you were happy with the result, or were you hoping for the win?
Yeah, I should be happy with this result, but I want to win for sure, but I could not today. I had no pace.
So let's look a little forward then to next week, Spain. How's that one?
Yeah. Let's see if I'm driving. Maybe doing E-Series, I don't know.
Okay. Well, let's see then. But if you're driving, is it going to be a strong track for you?
Yeah, Spain is decent. It's a good track.
All right. Well, let's see. For now, though, good points for ATX after your double race ban last week. So that will definitely be happy with your result and enjoy your second place.
Yeah, thanks.
Cheers. Last but certainly not least, let's hope I won't interrupt his chat with Ace again. Zach Miles dragged into here once more. 2 third places in a row. Zach, congratulations. I think the lead of the race was a bit too far away from you, was it?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, between Milo Wings and Victor's Hards, we lost Yerne and Leo on the thing, and then we pretty much just gave up on getting back in with how powerful DRS was, so we just had to settle for P3, and then unfortunately Victor picked up a track limit penalty, which didn't help.
Yeah, you both went for a different strategy when the safety car came out. Victor went to the hards, and you went to the mediums. Which tire turned out to be the better one, according to you?
I'd say the hards, to be honest. I mean, I think a lot of people on the mediums had to really save their tires, like proper safe, but I think with the hards you could just push them harder and just be more on the limit.
I saw some of them even pitted for fresh tires. Was that on your mind at some point in the race?
Yeah, I think without the tire saving, I don't know if we'd have made it. So we was considering it, and then we just thought with all the pit loss, we might as well just go to the end, and that turned out to be the right choice.
This time you weren't fighting with WR ABS. It was Team Shizou trying to throw a spanner in the works for the team. How was the fights? How were the fights?
Fair play to Shizou, to be honest. They were quite clean. It's good racing.
All right, so third and from the top of my head, P5, I believe, is what your team has gotten. But you do see WR getting further and further away. Is there a chance for NLR to catch up to them?
Yeah, we'll beat them. We'll get them. we need some fortune, and we'll get there. I mean, it's quite a sort of inflated point system as well, which helps. And there's a lot of racing still to go.
Yep, and next, of course, is Spain. Is that a strong track?
I think we've got a massive Spain merchant who will probably race, and yeah, we'll see. But I think we can do really well there, to be honest.
All right, let's find out next week. Thank you so much for joining us once again, and we'll hopefully see you next time.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Cheers. Right, and that once again concludes our race for today in Spa-Francorchamps. Another brilliant one with Janesh now taking the second victory in a row. With WR, with a bit of quick math, I believe edging a bit further away from Team NLR. However, a bit further behind, TTM and ABS had a little bit of a less than ideal race, so NLR are pretty safe at the moment in second for the time being, but there's still half a season to go. Anything can still change. There could still be another team standing on the top step of the podium at the end of this season. Spain coming up next. Let's find out what will be happening at the circuit at Barcelona. Thank you so much for joining in. Have a great morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. See you next week. Same place, same time. Until then, goodbye.